I was thinking about this question, and I think one of the main things that I feel like is being flexible has been really important to me. Being able to take on things that I might not necessarily think, oh yeah, that's what I want to do with my life. That's what I want to do, or that's what I'm really good at. But just taking the opportunity to do those things that I might not necessarily have thought, oh, I'm going to do this. Things like, I wasn't interested in child welfare, but I learned a lot about child welfare and about the system and how things work, and that's helped me in a lot of different areas. I also think learning to be a strong writer has been really important for me, just in terms of, my master's is in research methods, but it's all about writing. So those are my two.
Continue down that line. Would you like to answer?
Sure. I think, though, for me, undergrad was probably a larger deterrent from me going into the field than it was anything that led me in that direction. You know, I would say high school was very impactful just because of all the transitions that you're going through as a high school student and what that means in terms of being there for other people. And then graduate school. Undergrad to me felt rote, and I'm taking multiple choice tests that really did not, it felt like a useless, kind of senseless piece of, use of my time. And in the African American community, you learn orally, you learn through stories and community and things of that sort. And so when I decided to go to graduate school, it was that idea of thinking about things through a critical lens in a very different way that wasn't about checking a box. It was about speaking your mind. That was more impactful than undergrad.
For me, I think because I knew I wanted to go into teaching as an undergrad, I sought out opportunities that would support that. So I graded for a variety of professors. I ran study groups for college algebra circles. And then I also sought out opportunities to tutor, whether it was through their Learning Resource Center or privately with students. So it gave me lots of opportunity to kind of hone in on that, what worked, what didn't work. But I think something else that I would think about too is that idea, like really following your intuition and following your heart. Even now I see so often students are like, well, this is my major because that's kind of what my parents think I should do. Mm-hmm. That's where the job's at, that's where the money's at. And it doesn't work that way. And then when I see a student who has transferred schools 5 times and has had 6 different majors, it's like, well, you know what I like about you is the fact that you're trying to figure it out, right? There might be better ways to save you some money, but the idea of like really following your passion, I think is probably the thing that it was like I didn't know why I knew, but I knew I wanted to teach, and I knew how it felt, and I just continued down that path and searching out the opportunities that would support it. And give me more places to see, is that really what you want to do, right? You keep saying this is what you want to do, but you've never actually done it. And so I think that was really helpful to me as well.
But I want to reiterate the point about writing. I mean, I think that, no matter what you do in your life, writing is going to be there. And just to see writing as a process. I mean, now it's like the thing I really wanted to emphasize about this is mentors. So I had just amazing, amazing mentors as an undergraduate student and as a graduate student, and that really contributed to the type of teacher I wanted to be, and the kind of availability that I wanted to have for people. But at the same time, I see myself as incredibly rigorous. Mary, that I will really push my students to write, because I had that kind of pushing, and I kind of wish I had it even more, because that more than anything else, I think in every facet of your life, being able to express yourself, well, in many ways, right? Orally, the thing that is underplayed, I think, in college is speaking, right? I mean, that's also a skill that you need to learn. And I mean, the same thing, it's like, oh, I think I want to go into teaching, and you've never done that before, but you think, oh, I could do this, I think, and in some places you just kind of get thrown into a classroom. So it's those kinds of skills that are going to help, get you where you think you want to go, but you really have to want to do it, I think, to go into academia.
Wonderful. Well, our next question might be a little difficult for each of you, but what does a typical day in your job look like? sharing things.
I can start. I was just telling my students how hectic this semester has been for me. I'm still not into the swing of things yet, but I'm a single mom and I've got my kid at school, and so I drop him off at school, I come to work, I teach my first class. I have about an hour and a half in between classes, and I'm making my copies, I'm looking over what I'm going to do next. And that's also my office hours, so students come in, it's, dealing with any student issues, going over any problems that they may be having, jump into my next class, and then I leave almost immediately from there typically, and I go home and pick up my son. But the work doesn't end there. I go home and work for 2 or 3 hours while he's doing his homework and kind of hanging out. And then, I kind of go through that process for 4 days, and then on Fridays, I'm typically not here for classes, but I'll work from home or sometimes come down and work on other things, whether it's for a committee, or working on, some new research, whatever, reading articles for different projects that I'm looking at, researching stuff for the classroom, designing new materials for my students. And, so when I go home, a lot of times it's like, okay, what are we doing the next class? I want to kind of read through this again. Is there anything new out there that I might want to introduce? So it feels like a lot of time is spent researching for what I'm going to do in the class through the week. And so, I can't say that I have ever gone a weekend without working. I won't say that I work, 8 hours a day on the weekends, but, if I've got an exam, it could take me a good part of the weekend to grade. And I think that's probably, for a lot of us, the grading part is not the fun part of your job. But it's a necessary evil.
Especially if you're teaching one class.
Yes,
Yes.
4 classes is hard.
Yeah.
But the university supported me in that. In our department, we have graders that can help, but, I allow them to help grade quizzes and stuff, not exams. So I spent probably 8 hours on Friday grading a stats exam for 38 students. And there were times that, you might have 2 exams, and that's an all weekend ordeal. It's not a lot of fun. But.
Margie?
Sure. Well, when I decided when I became chair, so I became chair in 2009, that I had to promise myself 1 day a week off campus, and really, really hold to that. So Wednesdays have tended to be, that's my off-campus day, and I try to devote that to my research and writing. And that doesn't mean I'm not doing little bits at other times during the week, but it's really hard to find extended periods to write. So one of the expectations as a history professor is that you publish a book. And books take a long time to write. So we're publishing articles, and history articles, for example, are like 20 to 30 pages long in an academic journal. And, my book will probably run about 250 pages. So writing is an enormous part of what I do. And articles, it's kind of easier to kind of pick in, little bits here and there. But to kind of get the book going, you need time. So that's my Wednesdays, and I'm not very good about staying off of email, or being distracted by administrative duties, but I try. I stay home. The other days, it really depends. It's a mix of preparing for teaching, grading, doing administrative work, reading articles for my research. And it's totally unpredictable. And I have to say that as chair, it's even more unpredictable because you're dealing with other people's crises, right? And I didn't know my colleagues until I became chair, and then you start to really learn, oh, this is what's going on in this person's life. So when I'm in my office, I'm in my office. The door is open, and I feel like I don't really have control over that time because I don't know what crisis is going to show up. So as I'm trying to meet my own deadlines for research and teaching, there's always that possibility that somebody is going to come in with an issue that I need to tackle, and so I have to build all of that into my daily schedule. And then there's committee work in the college and in the university, and I always enjoy doing things like this, and I do outreach in the public schools. So, I try to have kind of a really well-rounded academic life. I do a lot of conferences. I'm the executive secretary of the North American Conference on British Studies. So it's lots of stuff, but I feel like it would be hard to let any of it go because I really love it.
I think the point is we don't have like a set schedule.
Right, exactly.
You just never know when things are gonna happen, and you kind of, the nice part is there's some
Flexibility. And when I have a daughter also in middle school, and so that is really nice that, we do have the option to work from home. And I only live 10 minutes from downtown, so sometimes I'll stay home more and say, oh, if there's a crisis, I can just come down to campus. So that flexibility is actually really nice. But the problem with it is you'll see in newspapers and stuff, oh, professors don't work. They teach 5 hours a week and that's all they do, and we're paying them, right?
Yeah, they have no idea how
They
much
have no
we're
idea
doing
how
at
much,
home.
right,
No.
right.
Kate, you or Jonathan?
Sure.
I would probably say mine is less crisis oriented. My day's pretty consistent. I probably have a couple meetings a day, and a few phone calls. Usually I get calls from faculty if they need help with a survey or with their course evaluations or some sort of data. A lot of times they'll need course evaluation data if they're up for a promotion. So they'll call me and I'll send them their data, things like that. Also, I have meetings with a lot of departments who are setting up surveys. I probably have one of those a day at least. So I'm doing lots of those types of meetings. And then right now, like this morning, I was working on setting up course evaluations for winter quarter to use on the quarter system. So our quarter is only 2 weeks from ending. So I'm getting things ready. So this is kind of like my crazy time when you want the data to be the most up to date that it can be with making sure all the students are right, the faculty are right. So I try and hold off on doing that piece until as long as I can, so then it's kind of a crunch at that point. But for the most part, I'm not bringing a lot of work home. So I'm more of the typical 8 to 4:30 schedule. I leave my work at work.
No.
Yeah, mine's a little bit of a hodgepodge of both, I think. My day starts a little bit later in the day, so where by the time I come in, most folks have been on campus for 1 to 2 hours working already. And my day starts a little later, one, because I'm not a morning person, and two because our clinic is open until 7, 8 o'clock at night, depending on what day. And so my day will start off with, I try not to start my day with an appointment, a client, just in case something goes on and there's some madness in terms of parking, and I need to return phone calls, and so I try to hold off on scheduling something at the very beginning of my day. But I will see clients throughout the day. I will be on call, which means I'm there to take any walk-ins. If we have 7 or 8 sessions going on at one time, that's difficult for one person to supervise, so I might pop behind the mirror to assist with that. I have notes to do all day long. I have treatment plans, and I have to sign off on everybody else's notes that I'm supervising, and so making sure that those things are done. I supervise students, so any given day I have a supervision schedule or someone's walking in and asking a question. So the open door policy, we all have it, and stuff happens. So I could have a day blocked out where 2 hours of it is about paperwork, and there's a student with a crisis or something that takes up that time. I leave usually between 5 and 6, depending on what I have to do during the day. And if I leave earlier, I come in earlier. I'll either go home and work on dissertation stuff, go supervise a clinician